Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Ben, this is Books with Bengiscon, and today I have for you my mid-year book Freakout tag for 2025. This is one of my favorite Booktube traditions, a very fun way to reflect on the first half of the reading year. And we start with the best book you've read so far in 2025. And I know the next prompt is about a sequel, but my clear favorite so far is a sequel, and that is A Civil Campaign by Lois McMaster Bujold. It's about number 12 or so in the Vorkosigan series. There's 16 novels overall, and so it's a mid to late series one. It really does have the benefit of a lot of books that lead into it, with a lot of building investment in these characters and the world, and so yeah, it did have a bit of a leg up for becoming my favorite book of the year compared to, say, a standalone. And so I did want to highlight my favorite standalone or book one of the year so far, and that is The Long Walk by Stephen King. This is one of his earliest books that he wrote, and it just utterly blew me away. Could not put it down. Read it in 2 days, and it was just so gripping and intense. So that's my favorite standalone so far. Prompt 2, best sequel you've read so far, and besides A Civil Campaign and maybe Memory, the prior Vorkosigan book, I want to go with something different, and that would be This Inevitable Ruin, that Dungeon Crawler Carl 7 by Matt Dinniman. This is the only book I have read more than once this year, because I started off this year with reading it in print. I was planning to wait until the audio came, but I had already done a series reread and just wanted to jump in, so I read it first in print, and then about a month later, I did a reread with Jeff Hayes' amazing audiobook, and I loved this newest installment in DCC. It goes bigger and bolder with this whole faction wars floor, and man, I ate it all up, and it had a lot of incredible set pieces, a lot of emotional impact. How he managed to juggle all these balls in the air with all these different characters and factions, it is a magic act that he pulled. And I know maybe this isn't working as well for lots of other fans of the series, but it worked like a charm for me. So Matt Dinniman can basically do no wrong now in this series. Number 3, a new release you haven't read yet but want to. This was tough. I've gotten to the new releases of my favorite authors that I was super excited about so far. So that was The Devils by Joe Abercrombie and Written on the Dark by Guy Gavriel Kay. But I've also gotten to a new Tchaikovsky one, which I'll get to later. But one that I have not read yet, it just came in and released here in the US, and that is Shroud by Adrian Tchaikovsky. So this is his newest standalone sci-fi book, and I've gotten a little bit tired out of his sci-fi. I think I've just been reading his sci-fi new releases basically over the past year, and I do want to read this. I think actually it's the one that appeals to me the most in terms of the premise, and I think I'm gonna have to wait on it a little bit and maybe just come back to it when I'm feeling more in the mood for Tchaikovsky sci-fi. But I do really want to read it because I want to catch up and read everything he's written. That's why I've been reading all his new releases, because if I don't stay on top of his new releases, man, they're just going to pile up, and because he's just an absolute machine, getting out so many books each year, and so I want to stay on top of them, but I think that approach might have been a mistake for this past year, and I got to hit the backlist now. But Shroud does look pretty cool, but it's exploring an alien planet, and that's right up my alley, and I just think I gotta wait on it a little bit. Prompt 4, my most anticipated release for the rest of the year, and there is a clear answer here. It might be my most anticipated book release of my entire life, of my adult life at least. Maybe Harry Potter 7 has the title there, but this is something I cannot wait for. I've been waiting for, I guess, not too long, but it would be the finale of the Sun Eater series. This is Shadows Upon Time by Christopher Rocchio, one of my favorite series. I was in on the ground floor of the series from before it hit the major hype train, and I just fell in love with the first 5 books that I was able to read when they were out. And oh no, I think I waited for Ashes of Man, and waited a little bit for that one, and then I read Disquiet Gods on release, and the build up to this finale. This is what Rocchio envisioned for the series when he was first imagining the whole idea and the premise, and then he went back and wrote everything leading up to it. But I feel like this is going to be one of the biggest, hardest hitting books to hit our SFF fandom in a very long time, and so I'm hoping it's gonna really deliver for all of us Sun Eater mega fans. And I have a really good feeling about it. It's supposed to be the biggest book he's written, so it's just gonna be a giant tome of craziness is what I'm expecting. And yeah, so I know it's not the best thing to go in with these incredibly high expectations, but can't help it for this one. Number 5, my biggest disappointment of the year. So I've had a few duds of some reads this year, and I've been good about DNFing pretty quickly though, so they don't become these long drawn out, memorably bad slog experiences. So 2 that I recently DNF'd that were mildly disappointing because they're my first try with an author and with a series that I was hoping they were going to be big hits with me, and that I'd have many books ahead of these series or authors, and the writing style just was not working for me with these. And that would be first City of Stairs by Robert Jackson Bennett, book 1 of Divine Cities. I could not get into the writing, the world building, characters, and the same thing and was happening with the beginning of Trader's Blade by Sebastian de Castell, for book 1 of the Greatcoat series. And I DNF this one even faster because I can usually tell if I'm going to be able to just get immersed and sink into an author's writing. And I think I've heard people throw around the idea of being pulled into the fictive dream of just really, getting convinced that this fictional world is real in its own way, and that the characters are real, situations they're dealing with are real for them. And in neither of those books or series was I pulled into that fictive dream where it felt real and lived in. But I didn't have a lot of time investment in those authors or series before then, so just mildly disappointing. The real biggest disappointment is when a favorite author in a favorite series delivers a book that just completely fails to engage or have any impact, and that would be Adrian Tchaikovsky's new release of Bee Speaker, the book 3 in the Dogs of War series. It used to be, for a few years there, it was just the Dogs of War duology, and it was just a perfect little gem of a series. These 2 books that I found so gripping, so alive and intense, and it was such a unique thing to have a duology, these little hidden gem that most people didn't really know about, but that were so special and just worked so well and played off each other so well. And there's interconnected kind of things going on between the 2 books with a big time skip, but they do act as standalones. And the idea for this series, similar to Children of Time, is that he could write interconnected standalones, that each book really would work on its own, but there would be a time skip between them, and maybe some character connections or overlap, and certainly developments from previous books will have ripple effects later for the world. And it's a really great idea, but I didn't think this, like his book 3, Children of Memory, really did a great job following up in that series. And then this 3rd book too, man, I can't tell you how disappointed I was in this. It started off with a bit of a murder mystery, and I was just hoping it would eventually really pull me in, and it just never did. We're back on Earth. There's something of a post-apocalyptic thing going on, a little Mad Max, but he puts his own spin on it, and there were just a lot of human POVs and distributed intelligence POVs that were so boring or uninteresting to me. And the heart of what the series was with the bioforms, I think that got diluted. And man, I really did not like the direction he went with this. I wish I'd not read it. I think it was an unnecessary addition to the series, and wish that the Dogs of War duology could have just lived on with those previous 2 books, Dogs of War and Barehead. Oh, man, I will be very interested to see what other fans of the series think of this, and if it was just a me thing that couldn't connect with it. But Yeah, this was a major misfire. My least favorite of Adrian Tchaikovsky's novels that I've read so far, by a long shot, and I've read about 20 of them, and yeah, I think he's maybe just pumping out too many of these things. There's a lot of recycled themes that I found in this from some of the more recent Children of Time books, his Ellen Clay, Service Model, Saturation Point. A lot of these books have been getting a little too samey for me. But yeah, not sure big Tchaikovsky fans or even fans of the series need to jump at the opportunity to continue with this one. Yeah, huge disappointment. All right, let's go more positive now. And prompt 6, your favorite new author. And I have actually read very few new authors this year. I've been going back to old standbys like Tchaikovsky, or just continuing series like with Dr. Karl or Varkoskin. And the few that I have tried, I'm hoping that maybe Tad Williams could become a favorite author in time. I'm in the middle of the Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn trilogy right now, but man, from the first few pages of book 1, the Books of Babel completely gripped me and took over my life for an entire month. And so Josiah Bancroft is the easy answer here. Had not read, well, I guess he only has this series and one new book for his new series, The Hexologist. But this was a delight, getting to know his sensibility and his wit and cleverness and humane sensibility as well, with his character writing and the way he views the world and the satire. And man, I just had an amazing time with those 4 books. And so yeah, I will definitely be reading anything that Bancroft puts out going forward. Can't wait to dive in to the new series. And I just was so easily swept away. Speaking of falling into the fictive dream, it felt so real, this alternate universe with this crazy Tower of Babel, and exploring the different levels, and just being with our misfit crew and Thomas Senlin. It was so immersive and transporting, and those first 2 books especially were just kind of perfect reads for me. So yeah, absolutely am loving Josiah Bancroft. Number 7, the biggest surprise of the year, and it wasn't a huge surprise that I ended up loving Books of Babel. I had a lot of confidence that that series might work based on what I knew about it. But this book, I thought it was going to be a complete stinker for me, that I would just have to get through it to kind of move on in this series. And it ended up working really well. And that is The Gunslinger by Stephen King, book 1 of the Dark Tower series. And I'd heard so much about this book over the years, and honestly, it was putting me off from ever starting this series. The idea that it was maybe just a little clunky and cobbled together, which it is, or that it's abstract and philosophical, which it is, but it was still working for me. I was really engaged through all of the different scenes and the different parts, and the mystery was really pulling me in and wanting me to get to learn more about what was going on in the past and about this world. And there's so many little hints here and there of things that were important to this main character, Roland, in his life, or what his present concerns are. And so it was just working on all levels, and the very philosophical ending too was just mind-blowing and mind-bending. And so the fact that I really enjoyed this first book, The Gunslinger, which is often cited as, just a bit of a clunky early book that you have to get through to get to what the real masterpiece books of the series are like. The fact that I liked it, I think, bodes really well for me with The Dark Tower. I am very excited to continue, and I probably will be doing that soon. So, yeah, by easily the biggest surprise for me so far. And prompt 8, a book that made you happy. And so, in terms of sheer happiness, filling me up with contentment and joy, that would be A Civil Campaign, which I've already mentioned, my favorite book of the year. This was a bit of a comedic romp, and a play on maybe some Regency era British novels, and dinner party scenes, and some things that had me laughing out loud, and there was also a lot of romantic drama of all various kinds going on, and that was emotionally pulling me in, and so it was dramatic as well, but it definitely made me happy, along with the kind of companion little short story novella that comes after, Winter Fair Gifts. That one was unexpected in terms of providing a new POV, and really also just was heartwarming and made me really happy. But the more surprising one that just made me happy, that put a smile on my face the second I pressed play on the audiobook, and that was The Devils by Joe Abercrombie. It's been years since I read my last Abercrombie book and listened to Stephen Pacey interpreting his writing, and man, was it just spectacular and fun to come back, and Abercrombie's delivering his savage wit and cleverness just on every page, almost on a sentence-by-sentence basis. He had me smiling or chortling, chuckling. I had a great time reading The Devils, and yeah, I think I probably actually physically laughed out loud more reading The Devils than any book I've read previously. I just love his sense of humor. So that one made me quite happy as well. Number 9, my newest fictional crush. I know not everyone loves this prompt, but I actually get a kick out of it, and I usually have an answer, and I do have one this year. I think last year I answered Cordelia Naismith, and that was from her being the POV character in the first 2 Vorkoskin books, and Bujold has done it again, because we had a new POV character coming in late in the series in Komar, and that is Lady Ekaterin Vorswasin, and I definitely developed a bit of that fictional crush on Madame Vorswasin. I mean, she is fiercely intelligent and brave, and has dealt with a lot of kind of personal relationship trauma in a very bad marriage, and it's kind of forced her to kind of go into a protective shell, and but to be in her POV and to see how she's chugging along and dealing with it and raising her son as best as she can, and then getting swept up in kind of larger events when Miles comes to town. It was just had me so compelled following her character. And Bujold writes also that she's incredibly beautiful, and so there's all these different aspects. It makes sense that all different men in the books in the series would have a romantic interest in her, and it was more the internal personality characteristics that I think had me swooning a little bit. And she's creative and artistic. She loves plants and gardening, creating kind of virtual gardens, little personality touches like that. But it was really the internal POV and seeing how she saw the world and it was experiencing, and how kind of repressed she had to be kind of emotionally, and just not living the life she wanted to in this horrible and restrictive marriage that she was in. Just had me so sympathetic and feeling for her, and that is a wonderful mid-series character that got introduced. Number 10, my newest favorite character, and this one I think would go to Thomas Senlin from the Books of Babel, and this is our primary POV in the series, and maybe the only POV in book 1, Senlin Ascends, and I found this character to be just utterly compelling, and I was able to empathize a lot with this character. There are aspects to Thomas Senlin that I was able to identify with, but then seeing his growth over just the first book even was spectacular and rewarding and so hard earned, and just the slow gradual awakening to the world around him and the realities, and the fact that he does change and develop new priorities, but has this core of honor and decency all the same. It's just a character I was able to fully stand behind as we go on this incredible adventure to try to find his lost wife amid this Tower of Babel, and the hijinks that ensues on the way of this journey. Just so interesting and fun to follow Thomas Senlin through it all, because he's this kind of teacher. He doesn't have this action hero background, and just the things he has to learn and grow into during this, and the new companions he picks up along the way. It's just, man, such a wonderful character to root for and follow. Number 11, a book that made you cry. I have actually shed a physical tear or two once this year, and that was for Flowers for Algernon by Daniel Keyes. And I had been warned that this book was emotional, and people say it made them cry and tear up, and I was really emotionally pulled in the whole way through. And I think, okay, it didn't hit me, as hard as it hit other people, I guess, because I was nearing the very end and still hadn't cried at all. And then that last page, the very last page, oh my goodness gracious, he got me on the last page, and definitely had me shedding a couple tears there by the very end. So kudos to Daniel Keyes for all the way through writing this compelling, emotional tale of someone who kind of has an intellectual disability, pretty severe one to start, and then undergoes this experimental brain surgery and kind of becomes a super genius. It was done incredibly well for really deep emotional impact, all through written journal entries by this main character. Just a very unique, incredible book. Number 12, the most beautiful book I've gotten this year, and I think I'm going to have to give Grim Oak Press some kudos, because their omnibus editions for one of my favorite series, Temeraire by Naomi Novik, are just spectacular. These incredible slipcases. We had the first one, the first 3 books already. This is the second volume. Just amazing art on the covers and throughout, the color art. And I love a big chunky omnibus, and the quality of this one. Just some of the nicest special editions I own, and love the coloring on the slipcases. And so I think they still have editions. These were limited, but I still think they have some. So if you're a Temeraire lover, you could look at the Grim Oak Press website and still get your hands on these incredible omnibus editions. There's one more to come with the last 3 books. And then from a indie author, a self-published Kickstarter, this is great. I haven't read anything by this author yet. This is Gunmetal Gods by Zamil Akhtar, but I bought into this Kickstarter because it wasn't crazily expensive, and I adored this cover art, and there are lots of great design touches with the colored sprayed edges, this amazing slipcase as well, and really, really cool color art. And I love designs on the naked hardbacks as well, because when I read from these books, I don't read with the dust jacket, and so if it's just like blank, it's not really doing much for me. But the fact that this has all this extra design on the naked hardback, just really, really nice for me. So I do hope I end up loving this series, Gunmetal Gods. I do have high hopes for it. So, very happy with those. And then number 13, what books do I need to read by the end of the year? So I am getting close to the end of Vorkosigan. I want to keep that momentum going while I'm maximally invested. So I have, I think, 3 more novels and a novella. So gotta finish those. I do want to continue in Dark Tower before I leave too long after The Gunslinger, since I was so into that. So Drawing of the 3, definitely want to get to that one soon, maybe some more. And then, because of Shadows Upon Time, I need to do a reread of Sun Eater and just be in that story ahead of this most anticipated release of all time. So gotta go through. I already reread Empire of Silence last year. I want to reread books 2 through 6, and maybe some of the short stories I've never gotten to, and just be as into the Sun Eater universe as I possibly can. Otherwise, I do want to get my Cosmere fix in, and so Isles of the Emberdark will be Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere release for the year. No doubt I'm going to get to that soon after I get my hands on that. And so those are the ones I really need to get to before the end of the year. And so, yeah, that was my mid-year book Freakout tag. Feel free to throw your own answers to those prompts in the chat, or let me know how you felt about any of my answers. But this is a lot of fun, and yeah, I'll see you later.